Codependency is when one person relies on another person for all of their self-esteem and emotional needs. Are you in a codependent relationship? And if you are you being codependent or is somebody being dependent upon you? It's easy to become one that's dependent upon, especially when you have a heart where you have empathy, compassion, and love for your fellow man. You want to be able to help out. But sometimes people become so dependent upon you instead of being dependent upon themselves that it becomes a burden, it becomes stressful, it becomes overwhelming, as one may say. But we're going to talk about the codependent behavior, and then we'll speak about what Dr. Andrea Brandt says about self-love and how we must regard ourselves. Codependency is characterized by a person belonging to a dysfunctional, one-sided relationship where one person relies on the other for meeting nearly all of their emotional and self-esteem needs. It also describes a relationship that enables another person to maintain their irresponsible, addictive, and underachieving behavior. The term codependency has been around for a long time, but at first they only related it to families, person that deals with alcoholics, and it was called co-alcoholics. But since it was such a large part of the general population, it became codependency. And it was also found that if you were raised in a dysfunctional family, because it can start out in childhood where someone is criticizing you and putting you down, and you begin to have bad feelings about yourself. In other words, you have been treated this way for a period of time, and you start feeling the same way and doubting yourself and have those fears that people have imposed on you because you don't feel like you're good enough, you don't feel like you're rich enough, you don't feel like you're pretty enough. In other words, you just don't feel like you're enough. So codependency can start as early as childhood because low self-esteem is one of the main parts of codependent behavior. Now, let's discuss low self-esteem. Low self-esteem is the feeling that you're not good enough, comparing yourself to others, and you put in this illusion that you give the impression that you have high self-esteem, that you have yourself, that you consider yourself in high regards. But underneath our feelings of shame, guilt, and perfectionism. You don't feel good about yourself, you feel bad about yourself. But people with high self-esteem feel good about themselves at their place in life. They don't have to worry about those feelings of guilt and shame. They don't have fear. I'm not going to say that they don't have fears, but I'd rather say they are able to face their fears with honesty and truth within themselves. So they create a high esteem for themselves. Most who suffer from low self no most people who suffer from mental health issues such as depression show that they have low self-esteem. Now, let's talk about where it comes from and how it becomes a learned behavior. Like I said, in childhood, we learn these actions from adults when they criticize us as children. And these things internalize in us, so that means that they sit there. And if you don't regard your esteem and regard that there's a acknowledge that there's a problem, then this thing can affect your life. It can affect your relationships, whether it's love, job, children, family. It affects your relationships because people look at you and they see confidence, but all the time in your head you're not that confident. You don't feel that good about yourself. Why? Because you have been put down and criticized, and it may have started out when you were a child. So that means that you grew up in a dysfunctional family that had these criticisms that they imposed on the children, and they begin to internalize, which makes you feel like what they are saying or what they feel is true about you, instead of saying, no, that's not me. I don't, but some people are not strong enough to take that stance with themselves. But in order to get rid of the dysfunction, you have to get rid of the low self-esteem, and you have to get rid of the codependency, because we are in charge of our own happiness. We have to make ourselves happy, because we are the only ones that knows what really satisfies us. So if we could be confident in that alone, that would do wonders. It would raise the self-esteem up. You don't have to feel like you're guilty or shameful. Listen to the criticisms of others. These are things that we should not personally worry about, because if we have not done anything to anyone for them to have these feelings about us, then we shouldn't even worry about it, because we don't have the problem. They must have the problem. So you leave that problem with them, and you think highly of yourself. You take care of yourself. You do things for yourself. You make yourself happy. You don't look for anybody else to make you happy, because you are the only one that knows what makes you happy. It sounds simple, but I guess when these feelings are internalized, it's much harder to regard yourself in high esteem. Okay, now as children, child abuse and bullying also contribute to low self-esteem. As adults, any demoralizing statements or behavior makes one feel low self-esteem, causing issues such as fear and self-doubt. We must be able to face our fears and not doubt ourselves. I am very assertive when it comes to not doubting myself, because it seems that every time I doubt myself, these things seem to spill out. But if I don't doubt myself, and I face my fears, and I face whatever's coming to me or toward me, then I don't have to worry about doubting myself. And once I doubt myself, I'm not able to complete the thought process of what's going on around me. But when I am confident in how I'm feeling and what I'm saying and what I'm feeling, then that fear and that doubt goes away. Why? Because I made the choice to acknowledge my fears, face them head on, and not doubt myself when I see what's going on and know what's going on. I don't have to doubt myself, and no one should be able to come in and demoralize me or you or whoever. We should not allow people to demoralize us and make us feel that our character is not important or does not matter. That these are feelings that come from other people. And if we take these things with a grain of salt and keep on going and stay on our path and uplift ourselves and encourage ourselves, then we'll be okay. But if we can't take a position to encourage ourselves and do for ourselves and understand who we are and where we are in our life, if we can't accept that, then we're going to have low self-esteem. And I would rather have the previous. I wouldn't want to have low self-esteem. I would want to encourage myself, believe in myself, trust myself. In other words, everything starts with self. It has nothing to do with nobody else. Everything starts with self. Self-esteem, self-love, self-encouragement. Everything starts with self. Self-happiness, everything. Everything starts with you, and you have to make the decision to not be in a doubtful place or a fearful place, and not be able to be honest and true with yourself about how you're feeling and what you're feeling, and you need to be able to express these feelings as well, because a lot of people have feelings so bottled up in them that they just all twisted up and knotted up on the inside. Why? Because they do not feel enough confidence in themselves to come to someone else and try to explain what they are feeling. Our emotions will have us in turmoil if we do not acknowledge them and let those emotions out. Because if you don't let the negative out, the positive cannot come in. You cannot keep having negative feelings about yourself and expect to feel good about yourself. You really can't. But we have to trust ourselves and face our fears and not doubt ourselves and not listen to what other people's opinions of us are. We shouldn't listen to what the next man thinks about us. We really shouldn't. Because just because they think it or feel it does not mean that that is accurate and true. A lot of times people take you through changes. And if you're not strong enough to understand and know who you are and where you are in your life, then guess what? You will be somebody's footstool. You'll be somebody's footstool. People will literally make you their footstool when you don't have enough confidence in yourself to express how you are feeling. Because they're not taking none of those positive things into consideration. If everything is always negative, then that's not someone that you really need to be around, and they don't need to be involved in your life. If you have someone in your life that is trying to demobilize you and make you feel like you are less than who you are and what you are, then you should not even be around that person. Because it was a saying when we was kids, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. but that is not an accurate statement, accurate analyzation of situations. It really isn't, because you could get over, somebody could hit you with a stick, and even if you had to go to the hospital and get stitches, guess what that scar does? It heals. But people can say some of the worst and dirtiest things to you, and those words will stick with you like white on rice. And if you're not strong enough, you won't be able to say, oh, Satan, get behind me. You won't be able to say, oh, I trust God regardless of the circumstances. Regardless of what you say, that's how you feel. So guess what? That's how you feel. But as far as how I feel about me, that's not it. You have to be strong enough. You have to be confident enough. You have to understand yourself enough. And you have to be honest with yourself about your shortcomings, as well as the things that you do that are productive. You have to be, everything is a duality. You have to balance that duality. It has to be balanced, or you will not be able to make it, not and have a healthy esteem about yourself. You know, I've had different words and different things said to me in relationships over the years. I've been in abusive relationships, and I have had people to tell me that I wasn't going to be this, or I wasn't going to be that, I wasn't going to be able to do this, I wasn't going to be able to do that, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that, you ain't important, you ain't nobody. But guess what? One thing I was taught was to love me regardless. I was taught by my mother that I was special, and that I should always be acknowledged, and that I was here for a purpose. So when it comes to someone else putting me down or saying bad things to me to demoralize my character and everything, I always say this: I know what I bring to the table, so nobody can make me doubt what I bring to the table. Nobody can make me doubt who I am. Nobody can make me doubt what I am capable of and what's going to happen in my life. No one can deter me and just say things to stop me and mess with my esteem to the point where I'm just all mixed up, I'm depressed, I'm crying, you know. I can't say that I have never cried, because I have. I've shed many tears over the years. I really have. But I kept my grounding in God, regardless to what I was doing, where I was, or what I was going through at the time. I asked God to give me discernment. I asked God to take care of me and my children. Everything that I asked God to do, He has done it. He has strengthened me mentally, physically, and emotionally enough so that I am very confident in myself. I have high regards for myself. When somebody says something demoralizing to me, guess what? I said, okay. See that smile you just saw? That's the same smile they see when they say demoralizing things to me, regardless to who it is. Because my mother made sure that I knew who I was. She did, you know, and like I was saying earlier about low self-esteem, it could come from dysfunctional family. It could come from dysfunctional family issues that have been created and passed down from generation to generation. And guess what? If you are not strong enough to break the cycle, you will continue in that cycle. Your children will have that cycle, and whoever comes after you that's associated with your bloodline could also have those same problems. So we have to think better about ourselves. We have to tell ourselves good things. We can't tell ourselves negative things and have all this negativity in us and expect positivity to be present. We just cannot do that. I'm sorry, it's no way around it, but this is why counseling has become an important part of some people's lives. You know, they are able, even though they can't tell anyone else how they are feeling, they can tell a psychologist, a psychiatrist what they are feeling. And then the psychologist or the psychiatrist can give their advice as well as medication to help them get through whatever it is that they're going through at the time. So it's better to have high regards for yourself and be honest and true about your emotions, about what you're feeling, about everything that's going on with you. In other words, you got to be in touch with your star player. I know y'all heard Cat Williams say that. You got to be in touch with yourself, as well as have a relationship with your creator, because my mother has taught me how special I am, and God has told me how special I am in His Word, so I had no reason to doubt who I am at all. I'm very independent, and so most of the time in my relationships, the codependency is on me because I'm very, very independent. I try not to depend on anybody for anything. I'm self-confident. I know what I can do. I know the results that I can produce, and I know that I can live a positive life, and that's what I strive to do. No matter how much negativity is going on around me, I have learned in my life to just back up. Let the negativity ride. I don't even get into the negativity. I let it ride. I let it ride and let it take its course. And wherever it may go, it can go. But what I do make sure of is that it does not stay with me. I can see the negativity, but I'm not going to participate in it. I'm not with a whole bunch of words. I'm not trying to argue. I'm not trying to have this big old confrontations or any of that. Me, I take this saying that my grandma used to say, a good run is better than a bad stand any day. And she taught us also to, when we see all of that going on, to get as far away from it as possible. Do not participate in it. Don't want to see it. Don't want to know about it. Don't inquire about it. When that negativity comes, you let that negativity roll right on off your back, and you keep it moving. You keep it moving, because regardless of what anybody else says or does, whatever you have to do for you still has to be done. And you can't do it if you got low self-esteem. You have to have high self-esteem. At least have enough knowledge within you to acknowledge what your problems are. To you can research. You don't even have to go to a doctor. Google can tell you everything. You can research. You can literally get on the computer and research how you are feeling And they will give you a whole list of what you can do about it. You make the effort to make sure that you are secure in who you are. Therefore, another person cannot make you feel inferior about who you are. You keep the superior stance. You don't depend on the next person to tell you and encourage you and all this different stuff. Although there are people out there that do it, you know. But everything starts with self. Self-love, self-esteem, self-worth, self. Everything starts with self. And you have to talk to yourself and say that I am the one. Yes, I am that. Yes. You have to be bold and confident in your stance. And not let nobody break it. Don't let nobody break your stance. You stand 10 toes down every time. You stay in your own foundation. You build a foundation for yourself and you stand on it. And you don't let anybody take you away from it. Nah. People have a right to their opinion. Give it to them. Let them have it. But don't you take what they said about you and internalize it and put it in your heart and in your spirit and in your soul. You don't tell yourself the same negative things that the next person may tell you. She said this about me. But guess what? I don't feel like that. So you should be able, when somebody says makes a demoralizing comment to you, a statement to you, tell you that you're not going to be whatever it is that you're striving to be, you look at them and you smile. And you be confident not only in yourself, but you can be confident in the fact that even if nobody else loves you and nobody else feels like you're special, God is always right there. You can talk to Him. You can listen to His Word. You can read His Word. You can listen to gospel songs. You can do a lot of things to encourage yourself. And have high regard. Think of yourselves highly. And when I say think of yourselves highly, I don't mean clothes and shoes and hairdos. I don't mean that. I mean think of yourself highly. Think of what you could do to make yourself better at all times. Do not look. Because this is where a lot of people get it wrong as well. Do not look for anybody to make you happy. Yeah, I may can satisfy you in some kind of way. But make you happy? No. I don't know exactly what it takes to make you happy. So you have to make yourself happy. I make myself happy. I do what I feel like doing. I get into my word. I take care of my children. I take care of my house. I take care of what needs to be taken care of. And I don't let nothing or nobody stop me for no reason. You know? And you have to have that kind of confidence in yourself. And trust me, it took a long time for me to get to this point where I could look at that adversity and laugh at it. You see this now? I give it to him. Straight. Like that. With no doubt. With no hesitation. When somebody tells me something that I don't like and they are making it in reference to me, this smile right here, they gets it. You know why? Because you can't take my confidence down. You can't make me believe what you believe about me, because I believe who I am. I believe in who I am and what I am and what I'm capable of doing. So I don't need nobody else's validation. Straight up. Stop looking for other people to make you happy, because it's nobody else's responsibility but yours. Self-love, self-esteem, self-regard, whatever, self this, self that. It all comes back to the drawing board, and it all starts with self. Be confident in yourself, love yourself, take care of yourself, regardless of what's going on around you, because the only thing you can control is you. You can't control nobody else. So you take whatever you can control and you perfect that. You don't try to perfect anybody else, because it's not possible. You don't try to perfect what they're doing and how they're feeling and all that, because every time you are going to fail. And this is something that I have learned, being in relationships and stuff. If a person has a certain thought or a certain feeling, you could do everything in your power to satisfy, comfort, make this person feel good. You could do everything in your power, and guess what? That person still gonna have that feeling that they have. So if that's how it is, you let them keep their feelings, you keep your feelings, and you keep it moving. But I have learned that, for real, in relationships. Because at one point in time, I felt like if I did good enough for this person, if I said the right thing, if I tried to do what they wanted me to do, I always ended up in a damned if I do and damned if I don't situation. Because that person has not let go of whatever they got inside of them. And you cannot control what's inside another person. So I had to stop that. I had to try to stop saving everybody. Because in my trying to save everybody else, I was losing me. And when you take it upon yourself to live the way that somebody else wants you to live, you know what that means? That means that you are living for them and you're not living for yourself. I have walked around on eggshells before. Don't know if I'm going to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing for this person to get mad. I can't control whether somebody get mad or not. So I let them, excuse me y'all, but I let them be mad. Ain't nothing I can do about it. You got to take care of that within yourself. Ain't nothing I can do about somebody else being angry inside. And I want you to understand that you cannot change people. You can't make people be what you want them to be. You can't make people do what you want them to do. Because guess what? In all of my whatever abusive relationships that I may have endured in my life, the only thing I wanted to do was get away as far away from you as I could with all those anger issues. I didn't try to stick around and stay around after they got to a certain point. Because when I see that what I'm doing is not making any difference, I stop doing it. I sure do. Because if what I'm doing is not going to make a difference, what's the point? I'm pretty sure y'all agree with me on that one. But control your own happiness, people. Control your own happiness Love yourself enough to know that you are somebody. Because this codependency thing is not a good thing. It's not good to depend on somebody else for all of your emotional needs. It really isn't. Okay. Now, let's get back to the lesson. Okay, I believe this is where we were. Fear or self-doubt can affect one's self-confidence, sense of self, which is self-worth, and resilience, which increases negative self-talk and beliefs. Some marginalization causes maltreatment because of religion, health, looks, or any other trait. Several factors contribute, such as age, body type, gender, mental health status, sexual preference, race, ethnicity, and socioeconomics. Our self-esteem is attacked from all angles. Didn't I just tell y'all that? That thing be coming from everywhere, all the attacks. Because especially when you're trying to have a spiritual walk with God and have a relationship with God, those attacks come from the people you love. Those attacks come from Satan. Those attacks come from friends who are jealous of you. Those attacks just come from everywhere. And if you are not confident in yourself, then those things will cause you to have self-doubt, fears, and low self-esteem. You will not regard yourself in high esteem. Look at what they said. Even when it comes to religion, health, looks, and our regular traits. You know, people get body shame. I read about actresses that have been body shamed because they are not small and petite and look like a model. Their significance in what they're doing and in their position is always compromised by somebody saying, "Oh, look at her, she fat. Oh, look at her, she dark skinned. Oh, look at her, she always wearing weave. She must be ain't got no hair." You know, people are crazy. People will say all kind of things about you. So we must boost our confidence in ourselves. We can't look for nobody else to do it. It's not going to be done right. Haven't y'all heard the saying, if you want something done right, you do it yourself? That applies here as well. You build your own confidence. You encourage yourself. You throw yourself into things that you like to do. You push harder at success. Whatever it may be, you make sure that you keep yourself uplifted. Because people will tear you all the way down. And then when you're on the ground, they're still trying to tear you down a little bit more. After a while, it don't be nothing but clothes laying on the ground. Because they don't stump you all the way down in there. If you allow it. If you allow people to, they will take you all the way down and have you feel like the lowest of the low. When you know about it. I mean, because a lot of times, when it comes to our esteem and other people, if we look forward to other people to keep us encouraged and everything, they do not encourage us on purpose, or either they encourage us and have agendas that come along with it. So that means whatever they are telling you about, they feel like you this and they feel like you that. That means that the whole time they were lying. Because if a person can take and stomp you down in the ground with no prevail, that's how they felt from the jump. That's how they felt from the beginning. Don't let nobody do it to y'all now. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Do not allow it. That's one of my main reasons for even doing this series, because codependency has so many different avenues. And we may be in codependent relationships and not even realize it. Because you may walk into a situation where you just trying to help, but because your help is what the next person may need, they're going to use it up until they can't use it no more. And then when they can't use it no more, they kick it to the curb. So make sure that if you are in a codependent relationship, the information that I'm sharing with you and going to be sharing is going to encourage you to have more self-love for you. More self-love for you on your terms and according to how you feel. And this is how you should be able to make some positive changes when it comes to codependency. Because there are a lot of things that people are dependent on that cause this dysfunctional codependency. It's a lot of evidence to this. After I do the series on codependency, then I'm going to do another series on self-love. And then all in between that, you're going to be seeing my other videos where I'm doing the ministry for God. So everything that you see when you click on my channel is going to be encouraging, uplifting. You'll never get to come here and feel like you're inferior, or you're nobody, or you don't have an opinion, or you can't make your own choices, or you can't be who you are. We need this because so many people, I'm telling you, people are walking around so angry. And it has to be miserable. I just know when I'm angry and I'm walking around and I'm holding all these grudges and I'm so upset that I can't forgive, it hurts me worse than it hurts anybody else. It don't hurt nobody else but me. Have my heart racing. Now I got heart problems. Have my blood pressure high. No, I done had a stroke. So we have to start making decisions that's going to be beneficial for us. And through these series that I'm doing, I'm going to be learning myself as well. What I'm teaching you all, I'm learning as well. I'm not just speaking to the audience. I'm putting this out in the atmosphere so I can hear it myself. This will be encouragement for me as well. So do not ever feel like you all are alone and whatever it may be that you're going through. Because we also have a mentorship program where we could come together in Zoom meetings. I also have WebEx where we could come together in meetings and we could discuss situations. We could make suggestions to each other. We can learn from each other. We can uplift each other. We can live and have some peace of mind. Some may feel that the failure is not on a social, individual, or personal level, but systematic, such as discrimination because of race. One can establish a mature, honest relationship with ourselves. That's exactly what I was just telling you all. That we establish a mature, honest relationship with ourselves, about ourselves. We must forgive ourselves and ask God for forgiveness. Understand that you are always loved and part of royalty. God considers us royalty. So we should treat ourselves no less than that. God was the one who made us. So if God thinks we're royalty, why would we listen to another human being tell us that we're not? Because what God says is everlasting. What God does is always good. What God incorporates in our life allows us to be strong and encouraged. Because in His Word He tells us who we are. When He made Adam and Eve, He didn't put no clothes and stuff on them. God looked at Adam and Eve and everything that He had made and said that it was well done. And it's all beautiful. It's all beautiful. Everything that God created is beautiful. And it goes beyond looks. It really does. Because you can look good and be all ugly inside. No, ma'am. Not beneficial to walk around like that. But God sees us as royalty. And people need to realize that and take hold of that and live by that. Now, for assistance, evaluation, and support, a therapist can be contacted. I think I mentioned that to y'all a little earlier. But we have to learn to overcome our self-esteem issues. They must be identified, understood, and unlearned for us to have a happy, loving countenance in life. Esteem is how we feel about ourselves. Self-criticism is negative self-talk, such as, I don't like myself, I will never succeed, I'm not worthy, and I don't deserve happiness. Negative thoughts can do tremendous damage to our personal lives. I told y'all earlier, it is all of that low self-esteem and self-criticism and negative self-talk will spill over into your personal, business, and family lives. Just like we learn this behavior, we have to unlearn it. Low self-esteem is a joy snatcher. Having low self-esteem snatches all of your joy. So this is why you're not happy. It has nothing to do with anybody else. Your self-esteem and the way that you look at yourself for real is what's the culprit for how you are feeling. And like this says, we have to identify, understand it, and then unlearn it, because it's destructive behavior, and we're causing that destruction on ourselves. Low self-esteem will drain you of all your good energy. You know, the energy that makes you happy, it will drain it. It'll have you displaying destructive behavior, self-sabotage. We will sabotage ourselves. We're gotta be done put a blessing in front of us, and we will straight sabotage it. And then try to blame it on other people. But we will self-sabotage or self-destruct. It don't matter who you get with, or who your family is, or who your friends are, or what kind of job you got. You will sabotage it. Why? Because you don't feel good about your own self. Social isolation is also an effect of low self-esteem. Thinking that you will be rejected causes problems in relationships that are personal and professional. And this comes from analysis, everybody. This isn't just words that's being said. This is stuff that is documented as true, because it has been analyzed among people. Three patterns are evident in one who has self-esteem issues. Rebellion occurs where one pretends to not care about anything what someone else thinks of them to be exact. Yes, Lord. They say it, but they don't mean it. They don't mean it. They say they don't like it. They say they don't want it, but this is what they want. They want it. They want it, and when they can't have it, they rebel against you and whoever else and whatever else. Showing anger and blame is a factor in one feeling inferior. You feel bad about yourself, so you automatically think that that's what other people feel about you. And that's crazy. That's real crazy. For real. They also have a victim mentality, where they use self-pity and rely on others to take care of their situations instead of taking care of it themselves. Like I said, even in the word themselves, self is the root word. It could be people pleasers. It's fine to want to please somebody that you care about, but codependents usually don't think they have a choice. Saying no causes them anxiety. And why would saying no cause you anxiety? That's your choice. You can either say yes or no. You know, so be comfortable with saying no. No, I don't like that. No, I don't feel that. No. Be comfortable and confident in saying no. You don't have to be a yes man for anybody. You sure do not. You do not have to go out of your way and sacrifice yourself for other people. You don't. You really don't. And then you got to learn how to set up some boundaries. Yeah. Boundaries are sort of an imaginary line between you and others. It divides up what's yours and somebody else's, and that applies not only to your body, money, and belongings, but also your feelings, thoughts, and needs. That's especially where codependents get into trouble. They have blurry or weak boundaries. They feel responsible for other people's feelings and problems or blame their own or someone else. Yes, people will have their own problems and try to put it on you. Don't let nobody blame you for whatever they got going on inside of them. Do not even entertain that. For real. Don't entertain it. Don't argue about it. Don't have no confrontations about it. Just let it be. Let it be. Don't even go through all that because there's no need. And once you set your boundaries, you keep your boundaries up. And don't flip back and forth between having weak boundaries and having strong ones. No, don't even do that. Don't you do it. Okay, and then we have reactivity. A consequence of poor boundaries is that you react to everyone's thoughts and feelings. If someone says something you agree with, you either believe it or become defensive. People will get defensive with you in a minute. You may be saying one thing or doing one thing, they see it as something else, and then they lashing out at you. You observe their words because there's no boundary. With a boundary, you realize it was just their opinion and not a reflection of you, and not feel threatened by disagreements. Yeah, don't let nobody else give you a picture of you when you know who you are and what you are and where you are in life. Caretaking. Another effect of poor boundaries is that if someone else has a problem, you want to help them to the point that you give up yourself. Don't do it. Don't give up yourself. I told y'all about that earlier. When you start living the life that somebody else wants you to live, then guess what? You living their life. You're not living your own life because you're not making your own decisions. And some people get lost in that. No, ma'am. Not me. It's natural to feel empathy and sympathy for someone. But codependents stop putting other people ahead of themselves. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. In fact, they need the help and might feel rejected if another person doesn't want help. Moreover, they keep trying to help and fix the other person even when that person clearly isn't taking their advice. Have y'all ever talked to somebody and gave them your advice because you have experienced something and you give them your advice and they don't take your advice? They just asking you to hear you talk because they're going to do what they want to do anyway. Remember that. People are going to do what they want to do anyway, and you do not have control over it. Control. Now this is a major one because a lot of people fall into this category. Control helps codependents feel safe and secure. See that? That means somebody has tried to control you just to make themselves feel good. Remember what I told y'all earlier about in past relationships when I tried to stick with it to see if I could change this or I could change that, or the person was going to change and all that stuff. And to my, from my experience, it did me no good and it caused me more stress than a little bit. Everyone needs some control over events in their life. You wouldn't want to live in constant uncertainty and chaos. But for codependents, control limits their ability to take risks and share their feelings. Sometimes they have an addiction that either helps them loosen up, like alcoholism, or helps them hold their feelings down, like workaholism, so that they don't feel out of control. Codependents also need to control those close to them because they need other people to behave in certain ways to feel okay. Ain't that something? Somebody will put their foot in your neck so that they can feel good. I told y'all, you become their footstool, really. And that is nowhere to lie. God tells us that in His Word. Yes, He does. In fact, people pleasing and caretaking can be used to control and manipulate people. Alternatively, codependents are bossy and tell you what you should and shouldn't do. This is a violation of your boundaries. Don't you let nobody tell you what you should and shouldn't do. Because at all times, you must remember that you have a choice. Do not let nobody take your choices away from you at all. And then here's another one. Dysfunctional communication. Codependents have trouble when it comes to communicating their thoughts, feelings, and needs. Of course, if you don't know what you think, feel, and need, this becomes a problem. So if the person don't know what they need or think or feel, then how can you be able to dictate that? Ain't that something? Somebody will actually put you in control of their thoughts, feelings, and needs, and expect you to conform to whatever it is that they're saying or doing. No, ma'am. And the worst part about that is folks will threaten you. They're threatening to leave. They're threatening to take your job. They're threatening to take your money. Everything. People will threaten you just to try to have you living in fear of what they may do. Nah. If you're going to do it, do it. If you ain't going to do it, then don't do it. But me worrying about that? Nah. Because I got to worry about me and keep me together. Other times, you know, but won't own up to your truth. That's another thing. People will know that they are wrong, and they will not admit it for nothing. Have you ever had somebody that was close to you that treated you like that? Because they wasn't willing to see them, but they can see you. You know, my father is like that to a degree. He can see everybody else's problems, and he can see all the wrong that other people have done. But when it comes time to look in that mirror, for him to say, okay, this is what I did wrong. I should go and apologize. I should go and say something because I shouldn't have done that. People are so shallow that they will not do it. They won't do it. They know they're wrong. And they will not come and apologize, try to make it right or nothing. You know, because, you know, my daddy, he'll do whatever he do. And it may make me angry, whatever. I may disagree with it. And then all of a sudden, one day he'll call up and he'll start talking like nothing even happened. So that means that whatever was affecting me because of his actions was not even affecting him. So if it's not affecting him and those were his actions, then why should it affect me? We got to love ourselves, everybody. We really do. You're afraid to be truthful because you don't want to upset someone else. Instead of saying, I don't like that, you might pretend that it's okay or tell someone what to do. Communication becomes dishonest and confusing when you try to manipulate the other person out of fear. And that's the truth. People want you to be on this thing where you be scared all the time, and you just, you scared. You scared they might leave. Oh, I ain't gonna do that. I ain't gonna say that to the boss, because if I say that to the boss, then I might lose my job. No, I'm not going to say that to him, because if I say that to him, if I act like this, if I have my own opinion, then he might leave. Girl, don't you do it. Don't you do it. Don't even do it. Because if a person want to leave, they're going to leave. I don't care what you do, what you say, or how you put it, or what you try to change, or what you try to perfect, or what you try to do. It doesn't even matter. If a person gonna leave, they gonna leave. So if it comes to that, you just keep your trust in God and let them go about their way if that's what they want to do. You don't try to hold on to nobody that don't want to be held on to. You don't try, and like even with my children, I have learned, you don't keep beating a dead horse. If that's what they want to do, let them do it. And when the consequences come, folks be having the nerve to call back out on you. And when they don't dog you, mentally and emotionally. So, trusting the fact that whoever's going to be is going to be, and whoever's not is not. But always know that God never changes. And you can always go to him. You do not have to deal with folks with that bullcrap, but for real. You don't. Let people do what they want to do. Don't even be running folks down. That goes with all of your relationships, even with friends. If your friends is not meaning you no good, or not good for you, then let them be. Let your friends be. And you go in another direction that's going to be beneficial for you. Okay, dependency. Codependents need other people to like them to feel okay about themselves. They're afraid of being rejected or abandoned, even if they can function on their own. Others need always be in a relationship because they feel depressed or lonely when they're by themselves for too long. This trait makes it hard for them to end a relationship. Even when the relationship is painful or abusive, they end up feeling trapped. Or we could be in denial. One of the problems people face in getting help for codependency is that they're in denial about it, meaning that they don't face their problem. Usually they think the problem is someone else's of the situation. They either keep complaining or trying to fix the other person, go from one relationship or job to another, and never own up to the fact that they have a problem. Codependents also deny their feelings and needs. Often they don't know what they're feeling, and are instead focused on what others are feeling. The same thing goes for their needs. They pay attention to other people's needs and not their own. They might be in denial of their need for space and autonomy. Although some codependents seem needy, others act like they're self-sufficient when it comes to needing help. They won't reach out and have trouble receiving. They are in denial of their vulnerability and need for love and intimacy. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. People will have you in a band, have you all mixed up and messed up. Yes, they will. But don't you let them do it. Y'all don't let them do it. Now, I'm read what Dr. Andrea Brandt says about self-love. Self-love. Loving yourself doesn't mean you think you're the smartest, most talented, and most beautiful person in the world. Instead, when you love yourself, you accept your so-called weaknesses, appreciate these so-called shortcomings as something that makes you who you are. When you love yourself, you have compassion for yourself. Many people mistakenly believe that self-love is the same thing as narcissism or having a big ego, but it's not. Self-love means having a high regard for your own well-being and happiness. Self-love means taking care of your own needs and not sacrificing your well-being to please others. Self-love means not settling for less than you deserve. And I know y'all heard that. I know y'all hear that. Yeah, you take care of yourself like you take care of a friend in distress. You treat yourself kindly. You don't nitpick or criticize yourself. For many, especially those of us who grew up in households that lack love and in which love was waxed and waned, loving yourself will take work. Self-love is practice and is a skill that takes work. Self-love isn't about instant gratification. A new car, a new pair of shoes, or eating an entire pizza might make you feel good in the moment or taste delicious, but the feeling isn't lasting and could be damaging in the long run. Self-love means giving yourself what your body, brain, and soul needs for the marathon that is called life. It isn't hedonism, and it isn't chasing a physical or emotional high. The practice of self-love is the practice of nourishing yourself. And with that, everybody, I'm going to close, but I will be back on Wednesday so that we can do another lesson on self-love. Again, this series is about codependent behavior and self-love.